Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the DContructingTopic podcast. Woo, let's go. Woo. I'm in the process. I got to get some little what we call in Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, timbales. I believe that they call that cowbell. But over here, we got that little stick with the metal that go boom, 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 boom. Got to make a little noise here because the fact is I'm a little bit old fashioned. You're not gonna hear a lot of you ain't gonna hear kaboom or sound effects or all that. You're just gonna hear my voice and you're gonna hear my emotions just raw and unedited. And once again, welcome to Deconstructing Topic Podcast. Where saving the mind is saving a life for sure. We got another interesting one. It's been a while that I do one of these. Things that you miss in the news, for those people out there, for the most part, the 99% of the people that wake up on their smartphones, they go to work, whatever you do, you consume these mainstream media over here in New York or New York City. We got the Daily News, the New York Post, the New York Times, whatever. A lot of nonsense out there that's in the news that is not real, and you already know. I love this country, I love the people here, but the people that run this country, the United States government, or let's just say a lot of people in the mainstream media, they co-opt, they fix a narrative and put it out there to you. A lot of people out there believe it, and they go out there and vote and make these, for the United States presidential election, they go out there, hey, let me vote this and let me do that. Wow, how can I say, you let yourself get manipulated and you put people in power that are manipulating you. Sometimes I hear people calling the current president Joe Biden an idiot. I hear people calling Donald Trump an idiot. Whatever the case might be, everybody has their opinion. But unfortunately, I like to take the side, well, they're not the idiots because they are in power and you gave them the power. So I'm not sure who would be the idiot, in that situation. But that's me telling my people, including me, hey, it's time to stop the nonsense and stop being pawns. So we making it happen. We got a good episode out there. So much going on with my life as I'm heading the 1 year anniversary is coming up for my podcast. I believe would be 1 month from now. So I'm transitioning to the video thing going on in the YouTube Rumble. So a lot of people who haven't heard of Rumble, they in my business card. They be like, "What's Rumble?" Rumble is that alternative to YouTube where it's less censorship. It's a little. I can't say it's a little wild west, but some people that have what they call Trump deranged syndrome. Maybe that's not your spot, but then again, for those people who believe, hey, you know what? I'm not a fan of censorship. I'm not a fan of being censored at all. Then Rumble is the place to be. I'll be there too. I'll be linking all my links all in the description. You already know you gotta hit the like, comment. I'm in every podcast platform. I use the podcast or the Podbean app, Apple Podcast, Spotify, and all that good stuff. Let's get on with the show, shall we? You already know. Things that you miss in the news. One of the things that I remember about a month ago, something that I've been telling people, a lot of people don't know this. And I mentioned this in one of my podcasts, Pat Tillman, is the death of Aaron Bushnell, who was a active duty Air Force young kid who, from my understanding of what he did, based on the videos that's out there on the reports, you did not get a lot of these reports in the news like that, but he basically went in front of the Israel embassy in Washington, D.C., and he self-immolated, meaning that he turned himself on fire, all while protesting what's going on in Palestine, free Palestine, ceasefire. There's also have been a report, and how can I say to you? And I'm just going to say this, there's not a lot of outlets that I trust. I don't trust the mainstream media. I don't trust the Fox, the CNN, the MSNBC. There's independent outlets out there that I'm in between. There's a handful of outlets that I trust in terms of getting my news. And one of them would be the Gray Zone. I'll put that there because they do independent journalists. There's no bias there. They don't, my understanding, they don't take corporate. So they report the news and the facts and the news. They report what they see, basically. They don't take sides or anything like that. And, my understanding, one of the things, this young kid, a soldier, Air Force, that the story is the United States was going to send a couple of planes to help Israel kind of do some damage on the shores of Palestine, Gaza, if I'm not mistaken. And he just said, you know what, the hell with it. I'm not with those plans, and self-immolated. So a lot of people might say, well, what's the point of signing into the army and this and that? And I tell people, look, I used to be in that mindset, but I know I once tried to enlist to the military a long time ago. My thought process was, wait, number one, I'm struggling. That's what they get you. And joining the army is like no difference in terms of going to college. That these systems kind of say, oh, you need to do this, you need to do that. They keep you poor so that you have to go to college, quote unquote. You don't have to, but, you have to. They tell you, oh, you need a degree and so on. Oh, the military can help you. So let's hold that thought. Like I said, everybody has a different story. I know people that join the military because they got family in the military. I know people that join the military, that was the way out, their means to be out. I know some people that just straight up some badass, like, yo, yeah, let me, like if you're in those movies where you just like shaved your whole head and you just, I'm like, relax. My thought is, for me was that, I always thought that the military would be kind of like an avenue to get into my political side without having to kind of go to college. I just wanted to learn and see on myself. And I just find it that, everybody got their industry, and, their own story. So the story with Aaron Bushnell, not a lot of people know. Again, he self-immolated. The sad thing, there's like these little clips where as he on fire, there are people or cops who are holding their guns and pointed at him. Now, obviously, one might say, hey, listen, the guy's turned, he's burning. You're going to shoot him? But sometimes in the thought of a cop, I would think that you wouldn't want this individual to just run to a crowd of kids or something like that while on fire. So, it's one of those things, but the image, not a good thing. Aaron Bushnell, we'll be talking about him more. The other thing too, and when it leads to the situation with Palestine and Israel, and I'm in the boat of ceasefire and so on, because again, I start learning all these outlets that I listen to. They tell you a story, and one of the stories, and one of my little brothers in arms, he always. Well, I kind of think that he stopped, but he used to, show articles, New York Times and all that. And, I always say, listen, with all due respect, the New York Times, that's like their talking heads of the United States government for years, for a century. And I'm just saying, take everything with a sprinkle, whatever it is that's saying. Jeez, I can't believe that I forgot. Well, I'm doing this, it's actually early in the morning. It's a morning time, so maybe a little cafe action, little coffee action. Take it with a grain of salt, that's what it is. With all due respect. So one of the interesting, crazy things that happened is that New York Times has an article of Hamas doing certain things to women and so on, some crazy stuff there. I'm not going to go crazy here to talk about in details. And, that's one of the things that you just kind of say to yourself, you see, that's why we need to, it's that reaction, that's why we need to do this, because now we need to attack, we need to go and find Hamas. Find Hamas, it doesn't mean go destroy the whole Palestine. And my understanding is what happened October 7th, maybe it's definitely the narrative that I've been telling you. Perhaps it's not. It's not. Something's going on there. Something is going on out there for sure. But I think the narrative tends to kind of lean towards like, yeah, those are the bad guys. Hamas. But then we start learning on October 7th, there was the article on the New York Times about what Hamas has done to women has proven to be a false hoax. In other words, there was no Hamas doing harm to these women. And the lady the reporter happened to be an IDF soldier. Meaning that she was in the Israel military. And think about it. IDF stands for Israel Defense Forces. You're gonna hear that IDF a lot. You're gonna hear that those three acronyms IDF a lot. Israel Defense Forces. So basically, you hire this reporter who was working for the Israel Defense Forces. Basically, she's gonna tell a story, a biased story about what she claims she's have heard and seen when it was not a true. And my people from the Green Zone, and I believe there's other publications out there that call it out and say, hey, that's a fake story. What did the New York Times say? Well, I guess we didn't do the fact checking. It's funny because New York Times and all these liberal outlets, when it comes to Trump, they're the kings and queens of fact checking. But when it comes to something, the narrative, I guess we have to kind of double check. Now it's a double check. Now it's not on some emotion fact check like you do with Trump, fortunately. Because you make money off of that dude. So unfortunately, what happened you already know what's going on. A lot of people don't know what's going on over there in Palestine. But, I've seen things and I've seen these independent outlets show, hey, listen, there's kids out there just drop every second. Every second. And unfortunately, stories like what happened in October 7th, that's just one story. That was a hoax. But a lot of people still believe in that. Like, they did that to women. No, it's a hoax. Unfortunately, it's a hoax. A hoax perpetrated by someone who happened to be in the IDF. You understand? A soldier. Go figure that one out. I tell people, hey, listen, are you going to now grab one of Trump's kids and then let them be the fact-checking source of Donald Trump and himself and believe, Donald Trump is a good guy now. Or whatever it is. You understand what I'm saying? The next thing, the reason I'm bringing up Trump, and that's on me. I want people to plug from both sides of the aisle. Because we got so much. My thought on January 6th, and I keep telling people, for some reason, why, I look, especially my people, my black and Latinos who talk about January 6th like an insurrection and Trump said things, and I said to myself, you must not know about this government. You know what I'm saying? This government is the government that I'm going to be talking about something called Operation Mockingbird in another podcast. But basically, the United States, the CIA, in conjunction with Hollywood, the media, and on, they create these narrative, fake stories, fake events. Now, the events do happen. Now, I say why it's fake event because, the optic would show, okay, January 6th, Trump did. I said to myself, January 6th is scripted. Scripted. I mean, come on now. People are like, people died. And yeah, 2 people died, unfortunately, with Trump supporters. And it's sad that happened. But hearing, from Glenn Greenwald, one of my favorite journalists as well, the Green Zone, the real indie news, is that there was a lot of FBI informants. And I was talking about with one of my brothers in arms, and a few of them, and sisters in arms, in regards to January 6th. is that in order for one to prosecute Donald Trump for it, then you must arrest Ray Epps, who happened to be a Trump supporter the night before, Saturday, going out there in the streets talking about, yeah, we must storm the Capitol, we must storm the Capitol. And he did that on Sunday. He was the first one to lift up the gate, the barriers, the barricades, way before Trump said anything. And he happened to be an FBI informant. Now, I think one of my brothers in arms said, hey, but ain't Donald Trump responsible for the FBI? The answer is no. No. These government entities, they work on their own. They just need to get approval from the president and other people in the Congress or whatever it is that they need to do. But a lot of times, no. The FBI and the CIA, they government agency that, for the most part, they operate on their own. Just for the sake of, secret stuff going on there. So if Donald Trump did not know anything about the FBI involvement in there, did not know about Ray Epps, and Ray Epps is the first one who said, hey, let's storm to the Capitol. He's the one that did the barricades. There's videos out there. He wasn't arrested. If you want Trump, and for those who believe that Trump should be arrested for overthrowing the government and all this nonsense, then you got to go after Ray Epps. You have to arrest Ray Epps. Doesn't make sense. He's the one that said so. What does that mean? Could have been that the FBI scripted this with the knowledge, without the knowledge of Donald Trump. Perhaps. And once again, and I tell people in this country, we are the kings and queens of orchestrating and propaganda. So when people tell me about this January 6th, get that over your head. It was a script. It was like Hollywood. It was a bad movie, actually. But unfortunately, the people ate the crowd. The media, I see The View is still spewing stuff about January 6th, and if Trump gets elected, that's what it's going to be. I said, no, man. It's all a script. It's a script to divide this country. And unfortunately, Irishman Bad over there does a great job in terms of following the script, because he's, remember, he came out in TV a lot. He knows what the hell to say. And I'm not, again, I always tell people I never vote for the dude. I would never will. But he's part of the game. It's just sad that people fall into that trap. That the media created this person. The liberals, the Democrats in New York City created this person. And they basically tell him, oh, go out there and spew nonsense. So we could say that it's you are the problem. But yet they, over here, look, kids in Palestine, man. Kids in Palestine, that's all I say. When people went out there voted for Biden, look, kids in Palestine. And I don't care how you feel. I take it back. I care how you feel. In terms of January 6th in Palestine, January 6th is garbage. Because you got kids dying at this moment who won't even know what the hell is being a kid. They're not dying. Either they're starvation, they're being killed, torture. That's how they got to you. On January 6th, once again, it's a script. I'll talk more about it. The FBI involvement in it, 30-40% of FBI informants. So that means that half the crowd that was quote-unquote Trump supporters were FBI informants or FBI people. Trump didn't know. Supposedly he didn't know anything about that. All right. So if that's the case, let's look into the FBI. With that said, let's go back to something where it's going to hit home in terms of the Ponce massacre, which Ponce, it's a town in Puerto Rico. March 21st, I'm sorry. Got the sniffle. March 21st, 1937. There was a little peaceful march, led by Pedro Albizu Campos, the Honorable Pedro Albizu Campos, who I keep saying to myself, I'm going to do a podcast, but I can't, it's probably going to be a podcast, maybe a series about Pedro Albizu Campos. I mean, whew. He was before Malcolm X, he was that guy that favored from the 30s, 40s, 50s. And in this march, because of what was going on and the situation in regards to the farms and then the farmers and getting together to strike and whatever it is. And on a Palm Sunday, March 21st, 1937, Puerto Ricans went to march peacefully in regards to the condition of the farm workers and sugar plantation and all this stuff. They just decided, hey, we're going to peacefully. And then, unfortunately, it turned into a massacre. And some of the, how can I say to you, at that time, the governor of Puerto Rico, Blanton Winship, who actually was not a Puerto Rican, he was, being that we are a territory of the United States assigned these so-called governors. And my understanding is that, hey, listen, we have peaceful marchers, and then the police, some of the National Guards, American, they just started shooting at the crowd of hundreds of people. And believe me, my understanding was like about 16, 17 civilians that died, and more than 200 people were injured. I think there were a couple of police officers that died. My understanding, I think that some of the police were Puerto Rican as well. But when you are being oppressed, the oppressor uses your own people to knock down on your own people. And even something that is still exists to this day in other ways. So the Ponce Massacre, Ponce, for those people who are thinking about going to Puerto Rico next time. Ponce is a nice little port. I mean, a nice little town in the southeast. The only bad thing, the airport to get there, it's a little bit different. But hey, Puerto Rico's a beautiful island. 1937, this is what happened. And I'm saying it because I'm doing this recording. It's March 22nd. And it's one of those things that we do remember for those. It was basically a massacre. So don't forget the Ponce Massacre, which to me, it's one of those things where people should remember what happens. And lastly, but not least, it was about a couple of months ago, if I'm not mistaken. I'm over here trying to look at the information I was gonna say. Then boom, I get hit with little YouTube advertising. But there's a story that a lot of people, for some reason, got mixed, where I'm saying to myself, wow. And it's the story of Alexei Navalny. So Alexei Navalny was, as the West, or this media paints it as, he was running against Putin in the elections, and he was giving Putin a run for its money, and because of that, he gets poisoned and all that nonsense. And I'm here to tell you, I'm here to bust your bubble. But the way they painted this Alexei Navalny character here in the States, when he died about a month ago, I saw people out there talking about it. Oh my God, Putin killing him, Putin this, Putin that. And I said to myself, hold on. Number one, he was not giving Putin a run for his money. The dude only had like about 1 to 2% of the presidential election. That's very low. What happened is that he just happened to be what they call an MI6 agent. MI6, people be like, MI6, I heard that before. Wait a minute, James Bond. MI6 is what they call the CIA of England. So, and the MI6, you don't have to be an MI6 agent. You just could be funded by MI6. I think the MI6 stands for Mission Impossible. But it's a true MI6. Like the number. So that's England pumping money into this individual to be like, they did a documentary and all on and so on. And the truth, my understanding is that he tried to poison himself and yet still live to tell that story that was important. Yeah, what a different story. What a different narrative. What they told you when this individual died. And it's sad because an American, especially my people, my Latinos and Black, when I hear you being part of the propaganda machine of this country that destroyed your country, whether it's Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Mexico, El Salvador, Colombia, South America, Ecuador. For me to be like, yo, you really are in the side of that oppressor that you were complaining about years ago, 20 years ago. Oh, in my country, United States did this, but now you hear part of the propaganda. And it breaks my heart, but that's why I started a podcast. To help people out, plug themselves. Let me tell you the truth. Because trust me, what you being told out there, it ain't. And I like saying Nirvana is just one of those situations where you be like, wow, interesting, you know? But I'll leave you out there with some links and so on. What a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful episode. It took a little bit of while, but hey, listen, you're going to pop this into your car, into your air, everywhere you're going to go, you're going to listen. Sometimes I tell people be like, damn, I would love to listen. Trust me, you could find like about 25 to 30 minutes of your time doing something, or you could do this. Listen to 10 minutes. Boom. Hold that thought. Whenever you got 10 minutes, you're working out. You're working out, time's going to fly. Whatever you do, listen to my podcast and share, because I am saving a mind, and I'm saving a mind and saving a life. Trust me, you ain't going to go out there and you're going to go on a student debt loan listening to me. Because my information is here and we making it happen. Much love out there. You already know, it's D-Constructing Topics Podcast. Woo, I'm out. Peace.